So we're in the lower north, and as you can see, we've now closed in the last remaining roof area, which balances out the milling areas. In the summer, we will be changing this canteen over here, moving it back in to create larger spaces at this end, which will improve the fans' experience. With the bars coming into play, fast flow, the cellar will be placed in this area here so that the beer will be chilled. So all in all, a good end here. As we come on through to the rear banks, we've now agreed a plan. We were AstroTurf all the way through to bring some colour back into the stand, because you can see it's a bit grey, there's not a lot of life. So by having a green background, and then the final piece of work will be to overlay the lower areas with a tarmac layer. So we're in the upper north, and as you can see, the area to my right is the only area that fans can enjoy their food and beverage at half time. The plan is to extend this area out 4 bays, make the areas open plan, knock these walls out, and do a return to join up with a stair. So what we're hoping is that the fans from the upper north will start to congregate on the upper elements and not overload the lower concourses. We intend starting this piece of work 3rd week in March, but it won't be open to the following season. So we're in the mid-north concourse now, lower, and as you can see, we've built an open canteen, and the branded timber is what will form the basis of all the concessions as we move throughout Fratton Park. There are fast food warmers being placed in. We have temporary beer chillers down. That will improve bit by bit because we're going to have permanent cellars as we go through the stand. If you look over to my right, there's an overflow shutter which enables fans to also go out the stadium at half time and enjoy the car park, which will be used in the summer. So just like the eastern end of the north stand, the western end will enjoy 3 extra modules which will connect to the existing concession area and allow fans to expand onto these new areas rather than congregate on the lower north. So as with the new middle concession area that we just built, we're just cladding through the western end concession unit, which will again form the basis of all the other areas that we upgrade and improve as we go throughout Fratton Park. The intent is to revert back to the eastern end in the closed summer because it gets remodelled. So part of the remodelling of this concourse area, you can see that we've got various pinch points which are 1100 wide. In the new layout, we move them back so that in most places the smallest gap would be 2 metres, and in many cases in excess of 3 metres. This will enable the fans to move throughout this stand freely as opposed to having congestion and pinch points all over the show. So now we can see the new terrace in cast, which are all in 750 modules, consistent with the Fratton end and consistent in the main with the upper. In the upper we do have deviances 30-40mm because it's an existing stand. These areas here are all new, and there is consistency amongst every gap being the 750 wide. The rise is consistent. The one minor difference that fans will notice is the change in space in which they currently enjoyed. But health and safety reasons, the overall sight lines and the improvements with the consistency in concrete and rises will far outweigh that of the previous uses. So you can now see that the wheelchair user zone is complete, and we have 3 more bay sections to complete, which will be finished mid-March to later part of March. That's the concreting of the first phase all complete. The first phase of seating starts to go in around the 16th of March. So in the main, we have to get ahead of the schedule. It's such a tight time frame from first week in May through to mid-July. Possibly there's going to be a friendly, so we have to factor in that as well, the dugouts being in use. So we strip these seats out and we erect a scaffold underneath the hanging basket, and we take some more core samples of the concrete. This will enable all the preparation work of this earlier stand, phase 1, to be ready for 2nd of May when the new works commence. It's packaged up into phases. We have a demolition contractor starting on the 2nd of May. their programme is 3 weeks. Within them 3 weeks, every seat has to be removed, every barrier has to be removed, and the hanging basket will all be removed. From there on, we've got various demolition packages on the inner side of concourses, toilets, changing rooms to water. Then we come through and overlay the ply right the way through the stand and put new LED lighting in the upper elements. And then we have a seating specialist, arena seating, coming through section by section, following us through. So if you took 11-week programme to 12-week programme, the first 3 weeks are demolition. The second batch of 3 weeks are mainly preparation, ply, LED lighting. The third phase of the 3 weeks is the grid system coming through, and the final 3 weeks is the seating programme coming through. We have done a lot of background work, and within the stand, fans will see lots of blue crosses and dots. Each one of these is a surveyed position relating to a column grid. So all the columns are pre-measured, pre-surveyed, and currently in fabrication. So there's been a lot of background work to ensure that this stand will be ready. However, it must be noted that the main concourse works, concession works and other areas won't be to complete till the later part of that year, say late November, early December, when the full experience will be able to be enjoyed. So we're now in the lower concourse area, and to sort of jump ahead of schedule, we've gone through and put all new wireways through the stand, and in the lower section we've added the LED lighting, albeit they're in temporary positions, but they will be just laid into their permanent positions once our work on the next phase is complete. To make this stand compliant, we've got a range of safety barriers being installed in the upper areas, complicated by the fact it's a timber stand and we can't get no loadings within the timber. So underneath all the sections where these barriers are to be required, we've put in steel structure welded back to the main trusses. This will enable us to bolt the new barriers through the timber into the steelwork that's all in place. That's been undertaken over the last 3 weeks and is now complete.